I talk about the topological metaphor of the medium at great length in the book that just came out, Grid of the Gods, because it is crucial. It has been crucial to my thinking all along, all the way back to the Giza Death Star books, even through the Nazi books. But it is such a highly abstract mathematical language that I think the reason that Schwaller put it in numerical terms was because even then it's difficult for most people to grasp. I mean, if you've read Schwaller, you know that it takes a while to sit down and absorb what he's saying. You can do the same things that Schwaller does in The Temple of Man and do it topologically, but to show how it emerges topologically, you'd have to have possession of a great deal of abstract formal mathematics, and most people just get turned off by that stuff. But so no, what I'm saying is that Schwaller is not talking about the same thing I'm talking about. He's not talking directly in terms of topology, although, like I said, as a mathematician, he certainly knew about it, and he certainly could have, but he would have lost his audience. I think we've reached the stage, and the reason I'm talking about it is that drawing the connections between these various traditions and showing that this is really what they're talking about, and that this is a legacy of a high science. The reason I'm doing that is I think it's time now that we start doing it, and there's aspects of it, as I've said to other people on other interviews, there's aspects of this that I will never talk about because it is truly, truly very, very dangerous stuff.
I guess I'm on my own then. Thank you very much.
With respect to the dangerous stuff, yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Farrell. And for our final question, we would like to bring it full circle and have Lolly ask about the magic of social engineering once again. Lolly?
Joseph, I'm going back to some of your comments that you made earlier in this interview and in talking with Georgianne Hughes on the Bite Show. I really resonated to the elegant simplicity of your counterspell, create beauty. Writing poems, baking pies, creating art or music seems to me to be high magic. The use of It is.
Yes.
Good. The use of consciousness, will, and intent for good. So do you during these times when we're bombarded by negativity and the tomfoolery of the elite, is creating beauty the ultimate in rebellion, in taking a stand for life and all that is pure and good? I would love to hear more of your thoughts on this.
Well, I think it is. I myself, I write music. I've shared it with close friends and family and so on. I do a lot in my personal life that is very far removed from what I write about. Some of what I write about is very beautiful and good, and some of it is very ugly and wicked. And I write about that part of it simply to warn people that, this physics stuff is more or less neutral. It's when you add into the mix the consciousness aspect of it that it can become either very, very good or very, very destructive. The primacy in all ancient systems has always been that this is ultimately a good thing, all right? And therefore, their emphasis has always been that you do good, you do compassionate, loving things, you focus on beauty, you focus on just simple acts of kindness to those that God puts in your life. God, I don't think, requires us to love humanity. In other words, love is never given to the great abstractions. It's given to specific people that are brought to us. And that's our sphere of activity. The other thing I do, and it's kind of up to each individual how they take this, but I'm not one of those people that likes to comment on contemporary events and make a comment every day about things happening that particular day. I look for patterns, but I don't watch television news. In fact, my television is very rarely ever on. I just don't let that stuff into my life. I try to take a big step back and look at the big picture, and that way I don't get upset at all the little things happening. And if I hear of the other thing that I advise people to do is, if you see or hear of suffering or something going on in the world, you target your good thoughts and prayers to those people. But ultimately, you're dealing with those in your life that God sends you. You certainly keep your view universal and try to target specific people. You know, the people suffering in Japan or Libya or wherever they're suffering right now, Joplin. But to me, the great abstractions only remain abstractions unless you also couple them with specific acts of love and kindness to specific people in your life. I don't know how else to put it.
No, that's well stated. So is it all of these little things and some of the bigger things we do for the people that we love with that will, conscious will and intent? Would you consider that alchemy?
Oh, yes, of course. Mm-hmm. Alchemy means nothing more or less than transformation. Mm-hmm. It can be referred to transformation of consciousness, soul, of physical elements. You know, it refers to all sorts of transformations in its broadest sense. So, you know, you don't even really need to call it alchemy, although I choose to call it that because I think that this is one of the more ancient legacies of whatever it was way back when, before humanity got diverted into dead gods and sacrifices and the current mess that we've been in and have been in for a few millennia. But if it means simply transformation, it means, first of all, transforming yourself, assuming some humility and some charity. And, you know, most people have the wrong idea of what humility is. Humility is simply seeing things exactly as they are, including yourself. Mm-hmm. And once you have that, and then begin to look at, you know, not only the good things but the warts, you know, then you're in a position to deal with them and deal effectively with them. So yeah, it's personal transformation. It's basically the metaphor, the ancient metaphor of this physics, of this consciousness transformation has always been love. It has always been love.
Right.
And if you do not have that, then you misconstrue what those metaphors are saying. And then it becomes a technique of manipulation, a technique of power, a technique to acquire hegemony, and it becomes an obsession. So it's very, very simple what we're talking about. You can either go down the black path or you can go down the loving path, and that's kind of it for me.
Thanks very much for your thoughts. They're actually, given all that you've talked about in terms of DNA and how we receive, or how DNA both receives and can be a manipulator of the material around us, that just those simple loving acts create change within, around, and out into, you know, the wider world. It's where our power is.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lolly. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for your time tonight, Dr. Farrell.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
The Latin meaning of the word doctor is to teach. But to teach what? Oscar Wilde once said, "A man who does not think for himself does not think at all." Your willingness to think and continually question why things are is what sets you apart from other academic doctors. Without questioning, one cannot obtain veritas, and without veritas, how can one truly teach? Dr. Farrell, thank you for teaching us some veritas tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope that the answers have been worthy of your consideration, but I've certainly enjoyed it.
They have. On behalf of Fox and all the members of the WebBot Forum, we thank you, sir. We have one more request from Lolly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, this request comes from the round table that just asked you questions. We want to know if you can play something for us.
Unfortunately, I can't. My keyboard is in the other room. I haven't had time to practice in about 5 years, and my keyboard my keyboard is also. I couldn't play chopsticks right now. I'd probably have to practice. And unfortunately, my keyboard has 3 notes on it that stick. I mean, it's real old, and it's no longer even really playable. The music that I have on my computer, I've been trying to figure out, to be quite honest with you, how to upload it to the members-only area, because I get a lot of people asking me, can we hear some of your music compositions, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it, but I haven't been able to figure it out yet. Otherwise, I'd be more than happy to share my 18th century proclivities with everybody.
Well, I think we'd enjoy that if you could. Okay, so they're asking me if you can't play a song or play a piece of music, have you got a poem that you'd like to share with us?
Not handy. Again, all my books. I'm looking at my shelf right now to see if I've got anything of a short nature out here, and unfortunately, my Oxford English Poetry Anthology I haven't unpacked because I don't see it. Okay. So all I have is a collection of Auden's collected longer poems over on the other side of the room, and that would take all night. I could do maybe, if I could find Cardinal Wolsey's soliloquy from Henry VIII, that would be a good one. You know, that one, how does it go? This is the state of man. Today he puts forth the tender leaves of hope, and tomorrow blossoms, and bears his blushing honors thick upon him. Then comes a frost, a killing frost, and nips his bud. I ventured like little wanton boys upon a sea of glory in bladders but far beyond my depth, lost now beneath a rude stream which must forever hide me. I'm forgetting lines here, sorry about that. Oh, how wretched is the man that hangeth upon a prince's favor. That, at least, is how the soliloquy ends. I remember that.
Thank you.
But anyway, that's Cardinal Wolsey from Henry VIII, and that's one of my favorites.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
Thank you.
Are we done?
We are done.
Okay, folks. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you all. I've enjoyed it.
Joseph.
All right. All right. God bless everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.